Hey, and in this video I want to share with you 3 stages of stress management that anyone can fit into their lives. And stick around until the end where I share what I call the 10-second stress reliever. Around 2010 I moved to a different city and shared a flat with a musician. One of the untidiest people you are ever going to meet. You could not see his bedroom floor, and everywhere was filled with old flyers and instruments. If it wasn't cheap and central, I probably would have moved out sooner. Anyway, he once told me about a time he was creating his first album, and with the pressures of getting an advance payment and being on a record label, his health started to be affected. To the point that he said his eyebrow hair was starting to fall out, which indicates to me a vitamin deficiency of some sort. But think, the pressure got so much from his bloody eyebrows started falling out. Most do not have a viable system of how to deal with stress. Many use food, alcohol, or think by saying, I'll just get my head down and grind, that'll do it. The act of grind or grit or getting your head down is a well needed trait, and I'd much rather have someone like that by my side in the workplace. The problem with it is though, is that you have to know when to ease off the accelerator. I don't want you to ever get to this stage, but we all face situations in our work and lives where, if prolonged, can have very real effect in our lives. In this video, I will share my 3-stage approach I teach people on how to handle stress in an efficient way. It can be incorporated into any person's life as it relates to time. And so we have all experienced time in some capacity. The stages are simply before the stressful encounter, which I call readiness, during the stressful encounter, which I call resilience, and after the stressful account, which I call recovery. Before we begin, I'd like to provide you with a definition of stress so we can use that as a frame of reference, and it comes from the neuroendocrinologist and stress researcher Robert Sapolsky. Sapolsky defines stress as a challenge to the homeostatic balance, and the stress response is the adaptation your body uses to try and re-establish that homeostasis. So now we have our definition. Let me explain the 3 stages you can incorporate in your life. Stage 1, readiness. So I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now when you first start Jiu-Jitsu, it can be a bit daunting, especially when you have someone on top trying to control and submit you. Adrenaline can take over and you fight with all your might to get the person off, because that is instinctive. But the result is you usually get submitted because you give too much of your limbs away. What you need to do is remain calm and look for space in the openings to get into a better position. By remaining calm, things slow down and you begin to think. For many who do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, this becomes a metaphor for handling situations in life. The ability to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And so readiness is looking at how often you induce mild discomfort in your life in order to feel comfortable handling other stressful situations. If you are head of a multinational company and you are asked to be part of the PTA group for your child's school, you'd be a lot more confident you could handle whatever stresses come up because of your experience in a multinational company. This is why it's important to have things in your life that provide mild discomfort, even though the thought of doing them doesn't fill you with excitement. I'm not always looking forward to going to Jiu-Jitsu, but I enjoy it when I'm there. Now there are some criteria for what you choose to get mild discomfort. It must be short, you must have a capacity to stop if you want to, and there must be an element of discomfort. So some examples include cold water therapy, hot saunas, a challenging sport like Jiu-Jitsu, or fasting. So before we move on, be sure to subscribe to the Fit by Health channel for the latest tips, tactics and strategies to improve your health and fitness no matter how busy you are. So the next stage is resilience. So when I first became self-employed as a personal trainer, I started with one client. It was a bit of a leap of faith, but I weighed up that the situation would improve quickly. Well, not as quickly as I had hoped. So I had to get a second job to keep me going. I got a job behind a bar and a nightclub, and every Friday and Saturday night I would work till 4 in the morning, and I hated it. I hated being around drunk people, and I hated being up till 4 in the morning. But I saw it as what I needed to do to stay in the game, i.e. being able to do personal training long enough to make a living out of it, which I was able to do 8 months later. So resilience is the act of sustaining an uncomfortable experience while still remaining functional, as in being able to get up, pay the bills, and function as a coherent adult. In sporting terms, like an endurance race, this would relate to sustaining an uncomfortable experience until the finishing line. It's not always easy. There can sometimes be a crisis of confidence, feeling of wanting to give up. But there has to be something that overrides that in order to continue. This override system tends to come in one of 3 forms. Number 1, self-talk. So I saw a billboard ad recently relating to COVID, and it said, "Remember, this time will pass." Now this is an example of self-talk, the ability to say something to yourself, usually repetitively, to put yourself into a focus that lets you carry on. The second one is external focus. If you focus externally on the environment around you, you can't talk to yourself internally at the same time. That means if you are engaging in negative self-talk, catastrophizing, saying that the world is going to end, focusing externally will quieten down that voice. And 3, reframing. This is where you say things to yourself that help change your perspective on the situation. Humor can really help in this situation. So if you have a project due to complete and your laptop dies, a reframe would be, well, at least they have to give me a new laptop now, or a perfect time to walk the dog. The reframe may not be true or solve the problem, but it widens your focus at least for a short period of time. So in the comments box below, let me know what you say to yourself to see you through challenging times. And the final one is recover. So recently I heard a term called leisure sickness. I had experienced this phenomenon when training a lot of senior lawyers. The way it works is you have a busy job. You're working long hours that can be quite demanding. You've got a holiday in a week, so you spend the time assigning your work to various parties. A few days into the holiday, you begin experiencing cold-like symptoms. It happens every year you go on holiday. Why? Because it's the only time you've allowed your body to rest, but your immune system has taken a battering. So things like a cold that would normally be fended off quite easily get through. The very thing that stops stress becoming prolonged stress is what recovery system you have in place. If you don't have one, or it usually consists of necking a bottle of wine, prolonged stress will lead to health issues in the future, namely heart disease, stroke, and or type 2 diabetes, of which stress is linked to all 3. So recovery is the ability to allow your brain and body to calm for a period of time while you're not straining it. This notably involves making sure you are sleeping efficiently, but also spending time laughing or having a chilled walk in the forest. But the important thing is to litter them in your life to offset the consequences when it comes to being stressed. A simple drill I share with people is box breathing, where you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold for 4 seconds. Do this for a couple of minutes until you feel calmer. Now in my program Stressless, I go into a lot more detail on how to incorporate these 3 stages into your life and give you far more examples for each stage. So find a link to that in the description box below. And now a bonus tip, which I call this 10-second stress reliever. And this is built on the premise that when you are stressed, you create a tunnel-like focus on what you are stressed about. So what I like to do is 1, go outside, 2, look out as far in front of you as you can, so it's always good to be in nature, 3, expand your peripheral vision as wide as possible. 4, do a long exhale and smile. Now it's as simple as that. Give it a try and tell me what you think. So that's it for today. Be sure to like this video, and subscribe to the channel on the button in the bottom right for the latest tips, tactics and strategies on how to get fitter and healthier even if you're busy. And I'll see you in the next video.